Today is March the 15th, 2016. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University, and today I am in Yukon, Oklahoma, to speak with Nona Penner. And this is part of our Rosie the Riveter series, so thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Let's learn a little bit about you first, like when and where were you born?
I'm Nona Penner. I was born on a farm in Colony, Oklahoma, which is in Ouachita County.
Okay.
And that's where I grew up on the farm and went to school at Cobb Creek. That was the first school I went to was Cobb Creek. We had to walk about a half a mile to school. I had a brother and two sisters at my age, and we all walked to school together. We had to walk across two bridges, and it was kind of scary to me because I was the youngest, and they had to lead me across the bridge to school. And my dad was on the school board there, and we all worked together. And I lived on a farm with we had a large home, white house. I can still see it. And we all worked together, raised gardens and horses. Yeah, I had my own. And I loved my horse, and we all studied at night by our own. At first we just had kerosene lamps, but next we kind of graduated to where Daddy had a generator for us to have electric light, and we all sat together and used the generator to use our radio mostly, and our light for our room, and we sat together, studied together, and talked about what we was going to do or had done that day and was going to do the next day. We usually had duties to do. We had to take care of the chickens in our yards, gardens, and other chores around the farmhouse. We had a big farm. Daddy raised all kind of garden stuff. We had especially a big garden of sweet potatoes and corn, and we always worked with our neighbors. And we had neighbors that would come over and work with my mother to they canned corn and other things from the garden. And that's what we used in the winter. And Daddy usually raised pigs for our meat in the winter. And cows. He always had milk cows. My dad was a planner. He planned for what we was all going to do. He didn't really plan for what he was going to do. He just made sure that we got the milking done, and took care of the milk, which we had to use a hand crank separator to separate the milk from the cream. And then we'd save the cream and make our butter. We made butter. And sometimes we could make enough butter by shaking the jar. And Daddy would have a hand crank butter churn, and we'd make enough butter that we could take it to town and sell our butter. And we all hated to leave our things at the store where we'd take things to sell, especially our chickens and eggs and things that we worked with, prepared. it was a good life that I had. I went to, after I graduated from high school, or even while I still worked in high school, I worked on Red Cross, folding gauze into bandages for the home front. And after so many women and girls and people, we all worked together to make bandages after school. Then the Red Cross would deliver them to where they had to send them, to home front.
When you say we, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, my brother and sisters, 2 sisters that was our age and my age rather. I guess they was a little older. And kinfolks too that lived close, they worked there too, like Aunt Beulah and Uncle John. They lived close. They came and worked, especially when we did garden work and butchering our pigs or doctoring cows and things on the farm that we had to do.
Well, let's back up. What year were you born? What, 1925?
Yeah.
And what year did you graduate from high school?
Let's see, what was it?
47?
You're supposed to remember all that stuff.
She's 47. Does that sound right? No. Let's see. 25 plus 18 is what? 43? 1943, 42, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I can change that part.
Yes, you can. You could correct that. Well, while you were helping your dad on the farm, what was your mother doing?
Mother would be cleaning chickens and fixing our meals. She would dig potatoes, and we had a new garden. When we had a garden ready, she would.
You played on the basketball team?
I was, and
1941?
oh yeah, and that's me, and that's my. Let's see, that's my sister there, Bobby. She was younger than me.
And this is you?
Yes, and
Were you a senior?
I must have been, because I believe she was probably a junior at that time.
Those are pretty cool uniforms.
Yeah, they were red and red
And
satin.
look slick, yes.
Yeah, they were red satin uniforms.
What was your number? Did you have a number? Do you remember what your number was?
I don't.
It must be on the back of your, if they even had numbers.
Must have been.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the house you grew up in was a 2-story white house?
It wasn't 2-story, but it was a big house.
A big house.
There's a lot of us. And we usually had company. Like Aunt Beulah and them, they lived close. They had kids and different kinfolks that would come to visit, like for the weekend or just for the night. Well, Mother always had pallets down on the floor. We didn't mind, and it was fun for all of us to just lay down and go to sleep. We did good, because we knew we had to get up in the morning, go to work, do our chores, and take care of ourselves.
Well, did the house have indoor plumbing?
At that time, at first we did, but then we graduated to where we had a bathtub and indoor plumbing, and Mother had to make a shower curtain across the room, so be separate from our bathtub, and stairs. Yes, and yeah, we all knew to, respect each other's privacy, so we made it okay. And the bathroom was part of the first part of our room. The first room in that room was a separator room where you had to use it to separate milk from in the first floor was had 3 stairs to go up to the kitchen, and that's where we did most of our running up and down 3 stairs, 3 steps, and yeah, we was close to the kitchen. Mother was cooking most of the time.
Would she fry her chicken or bake it?
She did all kinds, but mostly fry.
Mostly fried.
She liked to catch the chicken. Mother would catch the chicken, and she had it down pat where she had a special place in the pen to feed the chickens, and they'd come in when the chickens got in the pen. Well, she had a special hook, wire hook. She could hook the one she wanted to have for dinner. And she did. She would wring its head off and scald it so she could pick it clean, and she butchered it and cut it up into parts for cooking, frying mostly. Used the lard from the pigs they butchered, the lard, and it was lard, and
Would she cut it a pulley bone?
yeah,
Would she? You can't get those anymore at the store.
they always broke or gone.
Gone.
Yeah, we always wonder who's going to get the pulley bone and who is going to get to pull it.
So you had 2 sisters older than you?
No, I had 1 sister older than me and 1 younger.
And then a brother? So there were 4 of you?
Well, then we had younger ones after that. Yeah, I had 2, couple of sisters and brothers after that. But I still have 2 brothers.
So how many total children?
They were 7 of us.
So it took more than 1 chicken.
Yes, a lot of times it did. And we learned to share.
Well, you mentioned you had a horse.
Oh, yeah.
What was what was the name?
The first one was Buck. Our grandpa gave it to us. We all shared that horse, Buck. And then the next one was Chief. He was a bigger horse, and he was just our horse, not just mine. And everybody rode him, and he was good. There was a creek that ran through our farm, and the horse could jump the creek with 3 or 4 of us on him. He was a good horse, big horse.
No saddle.
We had a saddle, but we had 2 or 3 rode at a time. Usually there was just no saddle.
No saddle.
Everybody just hang on like ticks. And 3 or 4 could ride him, be good. He was good to us.
Well, after you finished your chores, what would you do for fun?
We always played in the yard with we had all kind of games, balls, hide and seek, where we would play. Somebody would be it, and the rest of us would go and hide. Then it would go and find them. Then the ones they found, we'd run to the base and see who we got there first and who would be it next. But the next first one found would be usually it. And we played marbles. We had marbles, and we could play games with them, which was you just line up the marbles and take turns shooting, see who could hit the most marbles at one time. And jacks, we had jacks that we played with. Jacks and balls, we had to take turns usually. We'd just have one ball. Sometimes we'd have two balls, but usually one ball and 3 or 4 jacks. And then we'd graduate and get, 5 or 6 jacks. Bigger ones, more. And get fancy with them. We'd throw up the jacks and catch them on the back of our hand instead of in our hands. And some of us could do it, got to where we could do it, And we'd have balls that we played with. Baseball. Mother made us some balls, soft balls to play with. And we learned to catch and play that way with handmade or homemade balls.
Oh, how would she make those?
She would sew the material with her hands. Mm-hmm. Maybe a piece of material that she could find or whatever was available.
And what would she stuff it with?
And she'd stuff it with cotton, which
okay.
we would pick in our own cotton field. We raised the cotton.
Hmm.
And we'd pick the seeds out of the cotton, and then it would be soft cotton ball.
Hmm.
And we'd run races, see who was the fastest, and see or whatever. And we played Annie over, where we'd play the ball, throw the ball over the house, see who could catch it. And the one that caught it would run around the house with it and touch someone on the other side that was trying to escape and get on the other side, and then they would have to be it next. And that kind of games is what we did.
Well, with 7, it was easy to do that. What?
We could play, and
Well, you went to a country school, grades 1 through 8 or 3?
1 through 4.
1 through 4.
And then we consolidated with Colony.
Okay. And then into high school in Colony?
Then we had to go to, then the bus we had to ride a bus to the school then. And the bus was homemade, and they put, it was really a truck with a bed on it, and it had benches down each side of the bus, and they were, I don't think they were padded, but we would get loud. I remember that we had a good bus driver, and he'd stop and shake his finger at us. But some of the boys, they had to be shook at. And I guess the girls did too, because this one girl, she was arguing with the boy that, he wanted her lunch box, and she wasn't going to let him have it. So she hit him in the head with her lunch bucket, and it started bleeding. The bus stopped, had to stop and fix him up.
Lunch bucket?
A bucket.
Bucket?
It was a syrup bucket. We all used a lot of syrup in on our plates at home in our meals. We used a lot of syrup. I believe the syrup was furnished maybe to us at one time. Like commodities now. I believe that syrup and it might have been sorghum or something else. But we used it, and she had a syrup bucket with her lunch in it. She hit him with her lunch bucket, and he started bleeding. We thought he was dying, We was all very excited, but he was a good neighbor, and kind of got him straightened out.
Well, what would be in the bucket for lunch? What would you take?
We would take maybe a biscuit with syrup on it, and maybe butter on it. Syrup and butter, and something from the garden, usually a tomato, or I don't really remember what else, but we had
Did you have fruit?
we always had a good lunch. I don't remember what fruit we had.
Yeah. Well, would your mother make your clothes?
She made a lot of my dresses, yes, but some of our clothing, the boys especially, was furnished, was just like now. Some of the clothes are furnished from, I don't know, DHS, who furnishes clothes for the children, but they would bring truckloads of uniforms, and we all wore the same kind of clothes. I know now that we'd all have the same kind of jackets, and I don't remember what else.
No, that's fine.
The whole suits, I think.
Well, how often would you get a new pair of shoes?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, maybe on our birthday, we all think usually they managed for us to have some kind of a tennis shoes.
Well, would you get an allowance?
I did not.
Remember having your money for the first time?
Yes, I do. And my sister, younger than I remember, we both got a nickel, and we went to the store and bought suckers. That's what we got.
Candy.
Candy. And that was Payne's store in Colony, and we'd get to go there once in a while. And so that's when we got to spend our nickels.
Well, how would you get your nickel?
By washing our teeth, and that would be a reward,
Okay.
kind of an incentive for this. Still works that way, really.
Well, were your parents from Oklahoma?
They were. My mother was Indian enough that she inherited a quarter of land, and when she and her family lived there, and the family next door were Irish, and Dad farmed, and he started farming before my mother, and then they got married. Finally, they got married, and they went to the county seat in Cordell, Oklahoma. That's where they went to get married. In a buggy, they rode a buggy, and what was it? When they were so excited when they left the courthouse. Dad forgot to pay. They have to pay when they get married. I guess still do. And so they got in the buggy and started home, and they was going fast as their horse would take them, I guess. And some of the men in town was hollering, "You didn't pay, you got to come back." So he said several men on horses chased them down and caught them. And when they stopped him, he thought they was going to trick him, you know, like a chivalry. And when he found out he didn't pay, well, then they had to go back to the courthouse and pay.
Probably wasn't much, $1 or $2.
Probably. Which would have been quite a bit for them.
That's true. That's true.
And that was funny. And Mother was always making something. If she wasn't sewing or embroidering, crocheting with her hands, she would be cooking or cleaning vegetables or meat or something.
Always busy.
And the house was, our house, best I remember, it was always clean. Everybody had to pick up their own, take care of their own clothing and their own room.
Well, I noticed on this picture it's 1941, and then the Pearl Harbor happened in December of 41.
41.
Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do. Yes, I remember Pearl Harbor. And
Do you remember where you were?
we were in a cotton field. Yeah, we were picking cotton. And everybody, you know, started hollering. Somebody had a radio that we could hear what was happening. And I don't remember a lot that went on that day, but we did know what was going on. But then at night, then when the news was on the radio, everybody got around the same radio so we could all hear and hear the news. And
Well, did any of your brothers have to go serve?
my brother was drafted into the Army. Yes, he was they drafted him into the Army, and there were several men in our county that was drafted at the same time. They had to meet in Cordell, and a bus took them to, I believe, to Oklahoma City to be where they had to join the Army.
Did you have a blue star for your window?
We did, and I don't remember what it was. It seemed like Mother made one, and her sister made one. Aunt Beulah made one for their boy too. Maybe it was for something else. Anyhow.
Well, when you finished high school, what did you do?
What did I do? I went to the bus station, went to Oklahoma City, got a job as a riveter for the Air Force. It was it was called Douglas Field at that time, and several of us girls that went together, and
You just decided one day to go try?
several of us.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, 2 or 3 had already gone, and then there was 3 or 4 of us that went after that, and we found out they could go and do it. Well, we could too.
Did you have to take a test, some kind of test?
Yes. A physical, which I'd never seen, knows what it was for or why, but it was terrible. They touched me, and I didn't want a physical or nothing wrong with me. And yeah, we got.
Did you get to pick what kind of job you would do, or did they assign you?
No, they assigned us to where we were needed, and they knew at the time if we could count rivets.
Did you have to work the gun?
Yes.
Was that hard to learn?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh.
No, it wasn't hard, but I was the shooter. We had we called it a tool bin where we could go and get so many rivets. There wasn't just a bucket full or something. You just got a few. And they furnished an apron, a little white canvas apron to put our rivets in to carry me, and they checked out the rivet guns. We had to check out a gun to and shoot the rivets. I was the rivet shooter, and another girl was the bucker, because we had to have two to shoot rivets. And we worked on the first plane was C-47, and we put sheet metal, which to me was just a big sheet of tin, and made the wall. We made a wall between the cockpit and the pilot. Was our job to do that. And then we put sides on the plane and different kind areas.
So it's kind of a team effort. You had to work with your
yes.
bucker.
We couldn't shoot, and we had our own signals, I couldn't see her and she couldn't see me, but she knew when I was going to shoot.
What if you missed?
Well, we'd make a mess. Then usually run a rivet. We'd have to take it out, straighten it up, and put in a new one. But that was our goal. We can do it, and all along.
Were the planes new or
Yes.
used? New?
Yes,
You were building new planes,
new one.
not repairing old ones.
Yeah, yeah, it was new. And
Well, besides the apron, what else did you have to wear?
When we'd go to work, we had to have our hair tied, so we wouldn't get hung up in machinery of some kind. And to go to work, at first, I was in a carpool. There was 3 of us that rode together, kind of in the same apartment house where we all lived. And we'd go to work. We'd have to have our long sleeves and gloves. We had to have we'd go to Douglasville. They'd let us out to go into the plant where we go to work. We had to have go through a security gate. We had to open our lunch bag and show our identification every day. And maybe sometimes there would be another gate to go through to make sure that we were safe. And then we'd go to work on our assigned places where we'd go.
Did you wear pants or jumpsuit or what?
We had to wear long,
Pants.
long slacks, shirts.
Well, was there a special, a different odor, smell with that type of work?
Yeah. Yeah, you could smell it. It was metal smell. I could smell it. And there was this lunch areas where we could go to eat, sit to eat, and was also like little places. Well, now what they call it, but little restaurants like
Cafes.
we could go and buy our lunch if we preferred or could afford.
Did they smoke a lot?
Yes, everybody smoked. And I didn't. At that time, I didn't smoke.
Well, was the person that trained you a male or female?
A female. And of course, the instructor was a male, telling us what we could and couldn't do, and what we was allowed to do, I guess.
Well, were there other men that worked there?
There was, but it was mostly women where I worked in riveters, where we shoot rivets.
Well, did the men seem to have a problem with women working?
No,
No.
not where I was. We all worked together.
Do you remember what you got paid?
Oh, I think it was about 75 cents an hour.
And how often? Once a week or 2 weeks or?
Yeah, every 2 weeks. And I had that here, but
Yeah, there's one over here. We weren't sure if it was 75 cents for the day or was it an hour
for the week,
for the
you know, it'd be I don't know what, remember now or what it was. Maybe it was probably an hour, maybe a week. I don't know, it wasn't much, but
it wasn't much, yeah.
yeah.
Could you spend it however you wanted?
Yes. Yeah, and usually I'd be so homesick to go home. I'd buy a bus ticket and go to Colony, and my folks would meet me at the bus station, which was about 5 miles from home. And of course they was happy to see me coming in there, and likewise, and I didn't go every week. I couldn't afford it every week, but I had to spend my own money. Once in a while I could buy a dress. I bought a dress one time just to wear home. It was taffeta, I think. It was a real fancy dress. For me, it was it was a dress, but it was the bottom skirt was plaid, and the top part was a solid color with a ribbon on it. Oh, it was super. Anyhow, when I went home, they thought the queen had come because I wore something besides, you know, my work clothes. And something I bought myself. And it was extra.
Well, would you buy nylons, or were they too hard to get?
We couldn't get them.
Could get them.
I didn't have any nylons. And I think one of the girls there had nylons that was with us. We had, like these girls now, one of them,
Yeah, looks like they may have.
yeah, now she was the one that would have had them on if she and Betty, I forget her name, this was Betty, and
All of your hair is curly. Did you have perms, or is it natural curly?
no, we had permanents. Or we rolled our hair on wire, like, I remember on the sack of coffee, you could roll the top down and it was a metal through the top of the coffee sack. And we'd save those and raise them up, roll our hair on it and wet it. And of course, when you combed it out, it was curly. Pixie. And yeah, we used different things that curl our hair, learn the hair, help it do it. And Marie, yeah, her name was Marie. I don't remember where she went to her, but the four of us were together a lot. And this was my cousin here, this is Claudia. And that was our friend that lived there close to home.
Did you all four share an apartment?
No. No, we just run around together.
Well, after you get off from work, what would you do for fun in the afternoon?
We worked different shifts, and usually when we worked, I guess we called it swing shift. We went to work at 3. Or maybe we got off work at 3. Anyhow, Norman was a naval air base down in Norman, Oklahoma, and they had, the Navy was there, and they had buses that would come to Douglas Field and pick up the women from the swing shift that wanted to go down there and dance with the Navy. And several of us did that. Several buses of us. We all wanted to go dance with the Navy. And the music was old time. I heard a lot of it on TV last night and just loved it. But the big band, Nickelodeons, is what we had to dance by, nothing live.
Kind of the USOs or something different? Was
Yeah.
it USOs?
Yeah. But it was all Navy. And
Well, when they shipped off, would you keep in touch with any of them?
no, I didn't.
You didn't?
Anytime we'd go to Oklahoma City, they'd be there. There'd be plenty to dance, and we did. That we danced with Navy, any of them that in the, like you said, the USOs there. We just danced with each other, and they was happy to dance, And I didn't really know a lot about it, but I caught on, and I think I could still do it. It was so fun, very good time for us, all of us. But of course, there was curfews. We had to leave, and that was for our own protection, I think, that we had to. And everybody respected it, and as far as drinking or eating out, we didn't do much of that. We couldn't afford it. But, you know, if we drank a Coke, we was doing good. And maybe one Coke would last all evening. And then we'd all go to our own ways. And everybody had their own way, you know, own apartments and the places to go. But they did health checks on us quite often. All of us, anybody that was outside on the street, they would do a health check on us.
What would they check? Blood pressure and that
Vitals,
stuff?
yeah.
Oh, vitals.
And see if we was doing good, I guess. And
If you weren't, they would have pulled you off of the gun?
no,
No.
they took us in. Wrote home, wrote to Mama, told him, you know, I need a new tooth pulled there. I needed help. No, I never had any problems because my folks all kept up with most of that stuff. The way we lived, they would take us to the clinics and check us out. Our blood pressure.
Indian clinics?
Yes.
Indian clinics. Well, how long did you work at Douglas?
Oh, maybe 2 years. And then the war ended, and DJ Day, they just closed the plant, and right then, that day, and we didn't have a chance to do anything except check in our tools that we had checked out, and check in our tools and say our goodbyes. And we all had to go back to our own apartments and pack up and go home. That's all we could do.
They didn't give you a choice whether you wanted to stay on or
No.
nothing?
No.
Mhm.
As I imagine some of them did. Maybe some
But not riveters?
not riveters. Right.
Mm.
I imagine some of them did. That was maybe in office works or something else. But me, I was a riveter, and I went home and made it immediately. And see, there was unemployment that you could draw. I forget now how much it was for this one girl. There was an article in the paper this week about Rosie the Riveters, and she wrote that she had went through this and that, and she told us that her husband and her son and, you know, the whole family had followed her footsteps. It was a neat story. I was going to show it to you, but
Oh, were you sad to be going home and out of work?
no. I was happy to go home,
And that the war was over?
and that the war was over, and everybody was dancing and singing in the streets and everywhere. And yeah, we just had to say our goodbyes, you know. And I had to go downtown to the bus station in Oklahoma City, catch a bus. I think they called it the Trailway bus that took us out Highway 41 to Cobb Creek Station. That was where we had to go to. The bus station was, and my parents was always there. When I would write Mother, and we could use the mail service, you know, but I couldn't use the phone service. I didn't have a phone and no telephone. It's hard to imagine, but it works that way. And we did all right.
You could write letters back and forth home
Yes. Yeah.
with a stamp or no?
Yeah.
With stamps.
Yeah, we had to have a 3-cent stamp.
So the mailman was an important person.
Yes, very. And yeah, we would write letters back and forth to Mother. And
Did you save any of those?
I have a couple of them, not many of them.
That's good.
And she wrote and that I wrote.
Well, were you married during that time or later?
No,
Later?
I didn't know my husband at that time. And his school wasn't far from mine, which was about 7-10 miles apart.
Was he in the military?
He was in the Navy. Yeah, and that's when he came home from the Navy. I was home, and that's when I met him. We had seen each other at school because his school had to come to my school to practice basketball because they didn't have a gym, and we did. So they'd come to our school to practice, and I had seen him and not really met him, but I knew who he was. We knew all their tune. They knew ours, but we were just two different schools, and that was good. A lot of us made good friends that way. And folks, they were German folks, and very, very good.
So when did you get married?
Yeah, then after I met him, we started going together. He had a car. He was a twin, and he and his brother together had a car. Yeah, so
That was a step up, wasn't it?
it really was. Yeah, he could come by, and we
Got married in 1940 or 1947-ish or 1950s.
it's been too far from.
47.
47.
Yeah.
They say 47.
Yes.
Something like that.
Well, did you work once you got married?
No. We worked together on the farm.
The family farm,
Yes,
160 acres or?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we worked together and built a little house for our own, and his folks on his folks' place, I guess it was, and he stayed at home. He drove trucks and worked, in the hay and different things, kind of work that was to be done. Milk cows, I know we'd get up, it would still be dark in the morning, we'd get up, milk, maybe 10 or 12 cows, and whirled around. But
A little bit different than doing a rivet gun.
yes, and yeah, I didn't want to get dirty, but I got used to it. We had to feed cows and clean them up too, and then milk.
Had a dairy.
We milked my hand at first, And then we had a little electric milker. I think it was run with a battery. It was an electric milker, and he could do it. I never did do it. I'd used to hold the bucket or something.
Well, did you raise chickens yourself at that point?
Yes,
Did you?
yeah. We raised chickens, but mostly his mother-in-law. His mother would order chickens by the mail, in the mail. And they'd come and postman would bring them to the house. She'd be ready. She'd have a brew ready for the new chickens. Take care of them with some kind of heater and water, feed it. Had everything ready for the new chickens. I went with her a lot to the chicken house, but I liked the little chickens, and didn't take long to big enough to fry, you know. But that was part of it. We knew it, and we had a good life together. We bought a farm after a year or two. We had been married, so he decided he's on farm, so not work with these folks. So, well, I just thought, well, I want one too, you know. So we worked, and I got a farm too, and I still have.
You do?
Yes, and one of them is, I don't know if this is one of them or not, but no, that's the riveter. But
It's been in the family for over 100 years
yes,
with your grandparents and parents, so.
yeah,
Oh, it's a centennial farm.
they're both are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have one and he has one, and it's wonderful. I can't believe anybody would do that. But we did it. And mostly wheat is what was on his farm. And different kind of grains and feeds. They raised pigs and all kinds of stuff. Then on my farm, I think it's mostly wheat, alfalfa hay, and a creek that runs through where everybody loved to play. There was a little waterfalls in the creek. It's Cop Creek, and we just called it Horseshoe Bend because there was a kind of the run of the river like a horseshoe. So that's the way it got it. We still everybody calls it Horseshoe Bend.
And it's Cobb or Copper Creek?
Colony, Colony.
The creek?
The creek is Cobb.
Cobb. C-O-B-B?
Yeah. Cobb Creek.
Well, to have water on the property was a main thing back, well, still is, I guess.
Yes. Yes, it is. And my nephew is there now. And I guess we'll hang on to it as long as I can. You know, after you folks had pioneered and everything through there and raised the kids and just took care of everything. Well, that's something to really be proud of, and I think, and they hung together. And it changed the hands down the line a time or two, but it's still mine. And it's fun to think about it even. And they say, my nephew was here the other day, he said, now if y'all was going to travel, where would you want to go, Grandma? Where would you like to travel to? Horseshoe Bend. And that's okay. I can't travel far, and I know it. So
Well, how would you get to Horseshoe Bend?
I would just,
Walk or
somebody to drive
a pickup?
a car. Yeah.
Pickup. Or a gator, whatever those four-wheel drives are.
The road goes right by
Oh.
the farm. And of course, there's a road all through the farm too, where they can drive. But it's interesting to see and be and do. There's different kind of animals that have been and raised and lived there. The deer are not as plentiful as they were. But they still find out there's armadillos and different kind of animals there. And I'm not interested in them, but they're funny to watch.
They are.
Kind of amazing to see. And
Well, is the house that you grew up in still standing?
it is getting dilapidated now. No one is in the house, but no one has lived there to keep it up. And I don't think it's repairable even now. It's kind of sad to look at it, but it had its days.
Had its days.
Mm,
Gave you all a good foundation, sounds like.
yeah, that's it.
Well, when you came home from working as a Rosie, you were good with mechanical things at that point, or no?
Yes,
You could fix things around the house?
yeah, I took care of a lot of stuff. And worked with different people around there. I was at home long before I got married, and so that's when you start working for others too, helping them along.
Sure.
And
And how many children did you have?
I had 2 girls. They're both here. They don't know it, but they are. And they've been very helpful for me and excited about today.
Well, when did you first tell them about being a Rosie? Well, back when they were in high school or a little older?
Yeah, they knew I was Rosie all the way.
Contributed to the war effort
Yes.
yourself, didn't you?
They sure was excited about today, but that's good.
Well, what was the hardest part about being a Rosie?
I guess I had to, on the work part, we had to sweep up our areas that were cluttered up maybe with any kind of debris that if we had dropped rivets or broke something. And I had to repair stuff there. Had to sweep up the floor, big floor. But
Well, would they have Spam in the lunchroom?
I don't remember what it was.
I mean, people associate World War II with Spam,
Yeah,
the canned meat.
and the peanut butter.
Oh, peanut butter. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just
And
wondered if they served it in the cafeteria. Rations.
probably did.
But you took your lunch most of the time?
Yes. Well, you just had like 40 minutes maybe for a lunch period, or maybe an hour. I don't remember how long it was. But by the time you walk to the lunch area, you're spending your time, and getting your lunch might not have time left to eat everything, or whatever. So, yeah, I always took my lunch every time I had time or had something to take. And
Well, was the building air conditioned?
the building, yes,
Well, that was good. In Oklahoma heat, that's good.
it's that long building that's out there now.
Okay,
That's where I worked. Have you seen it?
I've seen it, yes.
And the plane that I worked on, or the same style of plane, C-47, is on a pedestal
Okay.
there at the front of the entrance of the Douglas aircraft.
Well, did they have any midgets working there, short people,
Oh, yes,
to do the smaller jobs, fit in smaller areas?
yes,
Really?
they surely do. They were something to see. You know, if you wasn't used to them, they'd hang together, and 2 or 3 of them together, and they're just fun, good fun people. And one of them works down here at the bank, the National the Yukon National Bank. There's a midget that works there, and she's so friendly and great. She owns a farm too out here somewhere.
Well, it just sounds like they tried to get the right person with the right job,
Yeah,
if they could.
uh-huh. Oh yeah, they carried the mail. They did a lot of jobs, They put rivets in the rivet bins so we wouldn't get too many, or keep the tools clean and straight, hung in the right place, so they're easy to handle and get hold of when we went through.
Were there any African Americans that worked with you?
That worked with me, no.
Or saw any around?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, there was a few.
okay, just a few.
Mhm. You know where my Jim brought me up.
Oh, the Tinker Takeoff did a special interview with a African American lady,
Okay.
and she was a Rosie, and her sons have also. I'll find it.
It's on the table right there,
Okay.
right here. I'm sure I just loved it because I knew what she had done, been through. I feel like it,
You
so
could relate to it.
I kept that article.
Would your clothes get greasy?
Not much, just where the rivets were greasy. Had to,
How big are they? About as big as how big would a rivet be? About like your,
in a pencil.
oh, small.
Yeah,
Okay. So you had to, it'd be easy to slide out of your hand.
yeah. There. Yeah. You find it, Donna?
Yes.
There it is.
Okay.
See, she was a riveter, and I thought that was so good that she took time to do that.
I think it took courage to go from the farm to the city,
It really did.
being a girl and not married and
Yeah.
finding a place to live.
That I was scary. I had to ride a bus around town. I wasn't alone though. There was other girls with me. That I know at least 3 that was with me all the time. We were together.
Well, that helped.
Some girls, yeah, and yeah, we did okay. But if I didn't know where to go, well, one of them did, could follow the bus route or different things to do.
None of you four had a car.
No.
No.
Didn't even think about it. I guess that maybe a car would have been available anyway at that time.
Well, I don't think they were making new ones
No.
during the war, or tires,
Yeah.
and you couldn't get gas. So you might as well walk or take the bus.
Yeah. And then you meet people if you're walking. I know my neighbors, I get out and walk around quite a bit. But,
Well, how did you get involved with this Rosie Association?
yeah, you just write to them
That's right.
when you see it advertised, I guess, is on any of the paper.
And the main reason you did it was,
Yeah, I wanted to meet the people that did the work like I did, work together, know where they were.
well, and the main reason you went to Douglas to begin with was what? Just to earn money, or to
Yes.
or to help with the effort, or what?
Yeah, I wanted to earn money and the war effort, of course, too.
Both of them.
Now that pink might,
Yeah, tell us a little bit.
that might be order blank there
Yeah.
in there. There's an order blank where you can order any of the books or different things that are available through them.
Well, and you worked there for 2 years,
Yes.
and your last paycheck was,
I don't know, it's about $70-some. And
enough for a bus ticket home.
just, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, that was more than enough, I'm sure. And we knew the bus driver because we went so much on the road. And two of the girls would get off at the same place I did. And
About how long would it take you to get from Oklahoma City to Cobb?
to Cobb Creek, probably 2 hours or more
One way?
one way. Because we had to stop at every station, pick up somebody or let somebody out.
So coming back on Sunday, you'd have to leave with that in mind,
Yeah,
get back in time to,
yes. You had to keep track where you was going, what you was going to do after you got there.
well, did you have a time clock where you had to clock in, a punch card, or what, how did you clock in?
Yeah,
You clock.
we did have was clock in.
And would you do a 40-hour a week?
Put in cards. We did.
Or was it more? Did you have to do overtime?
It was on occasion. It was overtime, but usually a 40-hour was a good week. And then you'd be free for a few hours, before you go back. And it was good training. It teach you to get up early and be on the job, and something I really never had to do.
Well, being on the farm, you were used to getting up early.
Taking care of yours, if you had cattle.
Yes. Girl, is there anything I haven't covered that you want to add?
I don't know, honey, what it would be. But she was a riveter all the way. I thought that was neat. This came out in the
Tinker Takeoff.
Tinker Takeoff, yeah. Her husband works out there, and so they keep in touch. But I enjoyed all these girls. Her parents worked at the bus station where Cobb Creek was the bus station. Her parents, she lived there. And that's me. And this was my cousin. They lived down the street from me.
Were they all in the rivet department?
No,
No.
just that we all went to at the same time,
Okay.
same bus. And then this is a girl that worked with me. We'd go to the, like eat ice cream in the evening or go down the street to a dance or something.
Well, was a riveter the job to have? Did it pay more than the other jobs?
I don't think it did.
Did it pay more than the bucker?
I don't think
I
so.
wouldn't think so either, but I thought I'd ask.
I don't know either. Didn't know. Never did know how much she made.
Did you ever have to call in sick?
No. Uh-uh.
You always worked, huh?
Always there.
Oh, that's your card. Okay.
That's her ID card.
You've kept it all these years.
Yeah. I had to have a card to check in, check out.
Would they start the morning with any type of routine, like saying the Pledge of Allegiance or anything like that?
Usually on the music would be playing, and it might be something that was patriotic. I don't really remember what it was when we went in. But everything was patriotic around at that time.
Sure.
Wondering who was doing what.
Well, did the 2 years fly by or go really slow?
Yeah, they flew by.
Flew by.
I loved what I was doing.
Did you?
I could do it and felt like, I was doing good. Supporting myself. That was good, and that was still good.
How old were you when you left home?
How old were you when you left home?
I think I was 17.
Right out of high school?
Yes.
Right out of high school. And your mother and dad said, okay, you could go?
Yeah. If you'll be good. They gave orders, and take care of yourself.
Was Uncle Dallas in California already?
No. He was still at home when I left,
Okay.
when he was drafted.
He made it back home? Did he
Yeah.
make it back?
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember that day?
Yes. Sure do. The uniform looked so big, But he was a big boy anyway, but it made him look little, I guess. And he did good.
Lost weight while he was over there?
Yes.
Wherever he was?
He didn't leave the States. His job was here.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in San Diego most of the time.
Well, they had them doing whatever they needed to be done.
Yeah. He could clean guns, that's what he did. Clean the guns, took them apart, and
Well, did your husband get the GI Bill?
yes,
Did he do anything with it?
yes, he used it.
What did he do?
GI Bill.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, he went to school.
Did he?
Uh-huh.
Airplane mechanic.
And that's him.
And did with being a veteran, did it help with the loan to get the property, to get your farm?
Yes. It sure did.
All of that helped get the America on the move, didn't it?
Yeah.
GI Bills and loans and all of that after they came back.
Uh-huh.
And Rosie's working. A lot of women stayed in the workforce
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
You did too, just not out in the,
Not in the rivets.
not in the rivets.
Yeah.
You worked at home, putting food on everybody's table. Didn't raise cotton again, though.
We everybody had a victory garden, even in the flower beds. They planted vegetables in the front yards. They'd dig up the front yards and make gardens in there.
Do you remember seeing that?
Yes.
Did yours in front of your apartment?
Corn, yeah. People that didn't know better think we was crazy to plant corn in the front yard, you know, and we knew how to do it. But
And you have to share when it came in?
yeah, or they did
Help
just
themselves, huh?
help themselves, yeah. And it was the best. And we loved sharing to anything. I remember corn and carrots as some of the main things that we planted in the yard. But
Well, while you were in Oklahoma City helping with the war on this end, what were your parents doing back on the farm?
well, they was raising chickens and raising pigs and corn, cotton.
And they would they still do the Red Cross
Yeah,
helping with bandages and stuff?
yes. They did.
And war bonds and war stamps and
Yes, we all had bonds, even in high school or in school. We bought postage stamps, and they were war stamps, of course. And you get so many, you'd fill up a book. You'd have a book, and every time you bought a stamp, you put it in the book.
and then when the book got full, what would
You could cash it in for a bond.
bond? And then how long would you keep the bond before you turned it in for something else?
Yeah, you could keep it till it matured to about 35 years, $35. I don't know. I don't remember all
Well,
that.
I'll have to look it up because I'm not sure either.
But I remember fun doing it, trying to get more than somebody else, you know.
Well, and you had to reuse a lot of things. You just didn't toss stuff out if it.
Everything was rationed. We had to share our ration stamps for oil, for a car, or for gas, and our food even. We couldn't buy, usually sugar is one thing that we couldn't buy without a stamp. Sugar and coffee and flour, everything was rationed. We could just have so much. If you used your coupon for sugar, you just get so much, and then you wouldn't get any more till you saved up enough rations to get some more. Get some more.
Did you have to stand in line to get a ration book?
Sometimes, depend on when they were available at the courthouse. That's where I had to go to get my ration books. Then it got so they'd mail them to you. Then you would know what day they was coming, of course, and wait for the mailman and.
Did you worry about someone else getting them
No,
if they were coming through the mail? No.
no. If I needed sugar and didn't have a stamp, I could borrow sugar from my neighbor or a stamp from her. And we had good neighbors where we could do that with some of them. If we had, I can't remember everything it was rationed, but everything was rationed. And
Now, did you get a ration book and Aunt Gladys get one and
Yes,
And-
everybody got one.
your mom got one and your dad got one?
Depend on our age.
Oh.
If we was old enough to have our own book. My sister was older than me. I remember that she got one and she could buy hose and I could wear them. Nylon hose and, just odd things like that. Yeah.
Did it have the seam up the back? The
Yeah.
stockings have the seam down the back?
Yeah.
Did you put makeup on your legs and draw a line?
Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
You did.
Mhm.
How did you get it straight?
Oh, you would. You'd catch on after a while, if you messed up a while.
Would you do that when you went to the dance?
Yeah,
Would you?
sometimes we would. Sometimes we'd just paint a seam down the leg, and we did that too, and make it look like we had on hose, I guess they all knew different, but it was okay.
Yeah, everybody else was doing it too,
Yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah. Mostly makeup was that way. You just use what you had and fake what you didn't have. Use something else.
Just figure it out.
Yeah. Yes, that's about what we did. And I think I saved enough money while I was a riveter to buy some silverware, and I think I still have some of it, which was very, hard to get. You had to get a piece at a time. I think I got some of mine. But they're different too than what you can buy now today. They're big, the forks are big. And spoons.
While you were still there, President Roosevelt died. Do you remember that? Like April of '45?
Oh, golly.
And someone said there may have been a tornado that same day. Does that ring any bells? No?
I guess I was picking cotton, probably. I was probably in the field. I don't know.
No, while you were working at Douglas was
Yeah.
when he passed away. No. But did you have a Roosevelt Dime? I think that's what they called them when they weren't mixed at that point. Didn't have the copper in them way back when.
Yeah.
War pennies, war cents. Money was different during the war too, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. But no, I did save money. I might have, but I have a lot of it. I'd saved a lot, but I'm not sure what they are anymore
Right.
or what they're for.
Well, you've got quite a collection of we can do it things
Well,
around here.
yeah, good.
Well, you did it.
I feel like I did it, yes. I did it as good as I could. And all the women did, I think. They did as good as they could. Especially the ones that had to leave families. And some of them left because they wanted to leave for reasons. And some had to leave to provide for their families. And it worked.
Well, those of us who work now, thank you for getting the door open for us. You know, you did. I mean, women didn't work much until
You'd be
Until
afraid
you
to
did.
work out. Yeah, we were afraid to get out in the workforce till we started it. And yeah, it did kind of open the door, I guess. And it's good that y'all are carrying on. It takes more than one really realizes to really keep it going
it sure
everywhere.
does. Well, if there's not anything else you can add, we'll close off. Do you anything else you want to add before we close?
How do y'all think of anything you want to say?
No.
I think that we've hung together and I've raised my family. They're doing okay. So we appreciate you and glad you can have a good job coming by.
Well, I thank you for spending the afternoon with me. It's been fun.
It was good. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.